Coming up on today's show, we're going to break down the post-spring Ohio State football depth chart projection from 11 Warriors. Break down what I like, maybe a few things I'm not necessarily fully on board with, but I think overall, really good look at where the Ohio State roster currently stacks up. So with that in mind, how do you grade this Ohio State football roster? We'll do the, school scale. A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Let's go to quarterback. This is the ordering. I think it's the right ordering. Julian Sayin is number 1. Lincoln Kienholz is number 2. And then, obviously, Tavian St. Clair, number 3. We won't go crazy deep on some of these spots. Some will go a little bit shorter on. But, I think 3 is fine. Sorry, newest edition of QB4. It's fine. There is still a battle for quarterback 1. I don't think this is not by any means set in stone. This is why it's post-spring, not week 1 depth chart, right? I do think Julian Sayin is the favorites. I don't think he's locked in to that position by any stretch of the imagination. I think he has to have a good fall, has to show some good stuff as things move along closer to week 1. But if I had to guess, and it's a guess, I think Sayin ends up being named the starter to open up the season against Texas. Again, all this assumes, by the way, barring injury. Let's dive in then to the running back position. We'll mention James Peoples, C.J. Donaldson the most here. It does kind of sound like Beau Jackson has a good chance to be the top guy as RB3, which probably is going to be mostly garbage time work, though. I am focused in on Peoples and Donaldson, the incumbent, the leading returning rusher for Ohio State on the ground, at least in the backfield, I should say. C.J. Donaldson, the transfer from West Virginia, who has leading returning production among all players, because he didn't play for Ohio State last season. This is going to be a committee. You will see plenty of Peoples. You will see plenty of Donaldson. I don't think this is going to be a one guy gets 275 touches and dominates and gets Heisman buzz. I think this is a both guys get plenty of work. Kind of like you saw last year. Maybe not a, dueling top 75 pick version, top 50 pick version of Henderson and Judkins, but still two productive backs. This is a 1A, 1B thing. If I had to guess, I would give slight favoritism to James Peoples, but I don't think it's by any means a lock. He leads the team in yards on the ground. So with that in mind, who does lead the team in rushing? JP for James Peoples, CD for CJ Donaldson, and you guys can type BJ if you want, I guess. BJ for Beau Jackson. Let's go to wide receiver, and we'll just kind of shuffle through these different groupings of the receivers and group them all together. Obviously, Jeremiah Smith is going to be your superstar. They'll line him up some in the slot, too, but he's got the size to be your typical X wide receiver. Quincy Porter, probably the top backup there. The Z receiver, I think you'll see plenty of Carnell Tate. He's in line to get some more work, especially with Emeka Ibuka now gone. Mylan Graham is super intriguing, too, but might still be a year away. Brandon Inniss, I think, is going to have a really quality season, mostly in that slot. Again, there is some, it's not like every single snap's going to be in the slot. Every single snap's going to be on the outside for Jeremiah Smith. And then Bryson Rodgers offers some really good depth, too. It's a stacked wide receiver room. I am a big fan of this group at the wideout spot. I am excited to see how they all develop. I don't think we've seen the best of any of those guys, which is kind of scary given how good Jeremiah Smith was last season. I think Carnell Tate's going to try to get himself some round 1 buzz conversation. I think Brandon Inniss is the next man up, obviously behind Jeremiah Smith, behind Carnell Tate. I think there's also some really good other young players, Mylan Graham, etc. I think this is, once again, a stacked unit. It should make life easier on Julian Sayin, or Lincoln Kienholz. All right, offensive line. And again, this stuff is also not settled. Does kind of seem like Ethan Oninawa is the favorite to win the left tackle job. He is the transfer from Rice. Luke Montgomery will be starting somewhere. We'll plug him in at left guard. I think 11 Wars is right there. Is an outside chance he gets kicked out to right tackle or right guard, but I think left guard is where he ends up playing. So he's taking a step forward. Carson Hinsman is back as a starter at center. So that is certainly a positive development that should lead to some. The one benefit of losing Seth McLaughlin last year is that it gave Hinsman more reps than he would have ever gotten otherwise. Tegra Chabola, I will tentatively agree with Levin Warriors that he is the right guard option. I think if the Buckeyes got what they wanted, it would actually probably be Austin Severino, who kicks out from right tackle to right guard. We'll put Austin in there at right tackle for the time being. I think they would like it if Phillip Daniels emerged as the starting right tackle, but coming out of the spring, didn't quite seem like that was the likely outcome. I do emphasize this. I don't think the offensive line is set in stone. I think there is room for more change and more adjustments and more tweaking and shuffling of that front, which, once you get to kind of the mid part of fall, I don't want to start changing things. But, and I know that's mostly true on the right side where I think there's some room for more adjustments, more tweaks. But I think they need to, I think chemistry, stability, consistency matter a lot for an offensive line. I know the Buckeyes literally just proved me wrong when they were shuffling out guards in their championship run last season. But in a bubble, I would still rather have that. You can get the Ohio State schedule shirt from their national championship run by going to chatsports.com/OSU shirt. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. It's chatsports.com/OSU shirt. Let's talk defensive ends, and this is going to be heavy rotation. This is kind of almost more of a 1A, 1B thing. Kenyatta Jackson has the experience of being in the program the longest. I still think they're hoping for a bigger breakout this upcoming season. I think Caden Curry could be a potential developmental rotation piece involved there. I think Beau Atkinson is one I'm most excited about coming in as the transfer from North Carolina. That was a significant boost. I think you could see CJ Hicks and Logan George be involved in passing downs. Maybe if the Buckeyes want to do some 5-man fronts, I'm actually probably going to put Atkinson and Jackson and Hicks out there and make Hicks kind of like a 3-4 outside linebacker in this particular scenario and kick one of Atkinson or Jackson to the inside like a 5 technique role, so to speak. I think Logan George could kind of play some similarities with the CJ Hicks role. I think the depth is a lot better with Atkinson now in place. I do get it's not the same as Jack Sawyer and JTT. I think those were just 2 obvious starting edges for you. I think the depth and rotation might be a little bit higher this upcoming season if the top-end talent, especially outside of Beau Atkinson, isn't quite there. So what is your confidence level in the Ohio State pass rush? Scale it for me from 1 to 10. 1 on the low end, 10 on the high end. Again, the trend up front is going to be, I think, more of a rotation. Edric Houston, I think, needs to have a pretty big season, or I'm a little bit concerned about this defensive line unit. I think Tywin Malone is one of the top available backups. Maybe gets some rotation too. DT2, I wouldn't totally count out Malone, but hopefully it's Cade McDonald. Will Smith's got the bloodlines. I don't know if he's ready to be a key contributor. I am very curious up front, what Matt Patricia does with his defensive fronts. He's done 3-4. He's done 4-3. I am excited to see what his rotation and personnel usage really looks like once the season gets going. All right, linebacker, I think in general, by the way, middle linebacker, weak side linebacker it's a little bit blended together these days, especially with what I think Patricia's going to do. Sonny Styles, obviously going to be counted on for a significant role. Arvell Reese, I think, is in line for a likely starting spot. Again, Hicks can do some strong side linebacker because with what Patricia will do, the strong side linebacker is 3-4 edge. It's not really that different there. And there's some notable depth pieces. Peyton Pierce, Garrett Stover in the event of injuries. Davison Igbinosun is in line to be cornerback 1. The penalties have to stop. I'm glad he went back to school, but Igbinosun has to step up with some departures in the secondary. Same with Jermaine Matthews Jr. He's played a little bit. I am very curious to see what type of runway Devin Sanchez has. I think he's really talented. We've seen the Buckeyes play 5-star recruits in the past in year 1 if they are worthy. Just saw it with Jeremiah Smith. Could it happen again with Devin Sanchez? If so, it's really interesting. Then nickel. And I'll mention corner here, and we'll talk about the safeties here in a second. I think Lorenzo Styles is in line to be the starting nickel. Maybe Bryce West, Miles Lockhart can carve out some rotation stuff and the backup snaps. I think there is a scenario where the Buckeyes go, Styles hasn't developed the way we thought he was going to. And they look at a safety to play some big nickel, so to speak. More on that in a second. Do not miss any Ohio State football coverage. We've got you covered year-round right here on the channel. Hit that sub button, youtube.com/GoBucks. Caleb Downs is him. I have nothing else to add. I think he's one of the best players in all of college football. The other safety spot, up for grabs. We'll give the edge to Malik Hartford for now over Jalen McClain, as 11 Warriors did. I agree with it. I think there are scenarios in which you see Jalen McClain get involved in some big nickel reps. But I think they're probably going to try to see who the starter is first and then figure out if they do some big nickel stuff. Kicker Jaden Fielding is once again back as the starter. So, again, no changes on that front. Joey McGuire is the punter. Don't think you'll see too much of Nick McClarty. It's probably something bad happened in that case. I'll mention this right now because hopefully we never say his name again. The long snapper. Look, they've got two of them. Which these guys, I'll be not mean here. This is not intentional. These guys look like long snappers, don't they? John Furlman, if you ever, during our watch party this year, ever hear the long snapper's name said, something bad happened. Kickoff returns. Keep an eye on Mylan Graham. I'm curious what the Buckeyes do on that front. It's not as the way the rules have changed. Like, it's probably going to be a lot of fair catches. But I think Brandon Innes will also probably be involved on the punt return duty stuff too. Caleb Downs did some stuff as well. So I think on punt returns especially, Innes and Downs will probably both get some rotation. Graham, if you got the young, exciting receiver, getting him on returns is a way to get him on the field a little bit more and not have to be as worried about playing a starter back there for injuries. So I'm curious how things kind of develop and rotate this year. We saw Downs and Innes do it on punt returns last year, and maybe get some big plays out of it this upcoming season.